Well, I don't suppose there's any harm in starting a little bit early when we have so many people already here in the chat room lining up and wanting to hear what's going on. So I can't see any reason not to start a little bit early. So hello to all of you that are in the chat room. So very glad to have you here. This is the Christian Whistleblower. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. Welcome to the Gospel Truth broadcast channel. We're glad to see all of you here. We hope that you've had a great Tuesday, and hopefully we can make it a little bit more interesting for you by bringing you some good information, some powerful information, and some interesting information, and hopefully some information that will even change your life, because that's what we're here for. Now, I wonder if you folks, how many have ever heard about the observer effect, or how many of you could define the observer effect and describe what it is and what it means and what are the implications? Well, let's take a look at the observer effect as far as physics go, and I want to talk about that with you a little bit. The observer effect in quantum physics, an especially unusual version of the observer effect occurs. Physicists have found that even passive observation of quantum phenomena, i.e. observations that do not directly act upon said phenomena, can actually change the phenomena. The 1998 Weizmann experiment is a particular famous example. According to the Weizmann Institute of Science, quantum theory demonstrated observation affects reality from Science Daily, 27 February, 1998. These findings have led to speculation that the conscious mind can actually affect reality. Ewan J. Squires, The Mystery of the Quantum World. Most physicists today consider this a misconception of quantum mechanics. It's rooted in a misunderstanding of the quantum wave function and the quantum measurement process. But what they're trying to say is that if you look at a wave, it acts like a particle instead of like a wave. But even that, now I'm no physicist, but even that to me would be a change. That in itself is very much an observer effect. So the observer effect states that any object, when subjected to observation, even passive observation, that is observation that is incapable of directly affecting it, even that particle or even that thing is affected by the observation. And that's absolutely true. And how many of y'all have ever been on a safari? Well, I've never been on a safari, but I've been on a shark dive for a week. And when you're on a shark dive, you got to have a good hat with a wide brim so you can keep the sun off of your face and keep from getting burned up. And if you get a really cool hat, it'll snap up and snap down so you can make yourself, real covered up by the sun, or you can make yourself look cool a little bit by snapping up one side of your hat. So at any rate, when you're going on a safari, or if you're going on a shark dive, everybody thinks you're going on a safari to shoot something. Well, a safari is much more like I got a knife over there. A safari is much more like an observation at the beginning. And I myself am on a safari. Well, what do you mean, Jeff? I'm on a safari because I am observing the rat bastard. I am watching the rat bastard. I've got my eyes on the rat bastard. And think of that. If you're the rat bastard, You've been around you've been dealing with humans within the current context for about 10,000 years. And in that 10,000 years, you haven't been observed by any humans because they haven't been smart enough really to observe you. You've been doing what you do, and you've been doing it pretty much in secrecy. You've been doing it unobserved. You've been doing what you want to do. You've been doing what you think you want to do whenever you want to do it without any observation, even passive observation. No one has been checking you out and scrutinizing your activities, because if anyone ever did think to scrutinize your activities, they got yelled at, burned at the stake, thrown out of churches. Well, now these days, we've got a whole lot of people that are observing the rat bastard. There's scores of YouTube channels that are observing the political mechanizations that really stem from the rat bastard. We've got scores of YouTube channels that are observing the cultural implications that are being perpetrated by the rat bastard. And we've got some religious channels that are also scrutinizing the rat bastard, but really they're just cheering for the rat bastard. And then you got me actually putting a observational, scientific, rational, observational, a idea of actually looking at and grading and deciding if it's good or if it's bad, and actually trying to get the rat bastard, put the rat bastard in a place where he has to explain himself. And he's not used to that. He's never had to explain himself before. Oh, it's God's will has always been good enough. God works in mysterious ways have always been good enough. Just have faith has always been good enough. Just put it on the shelf has always been good enough. But those days are gone, and they are gone forever, my friends, because we are now observing the rat bastard, observing the rat bastard, observing the being that we call God, who up until now has enjoyed moving and living and having his being without observation. And him having to be under observation is causing a change. And my question today is, what kind of a change is going to be perpetrated upon the rat bastard by virtue of our observation of him? Now, we only have about 8,000 subscribers right now. But there's 8,000 people that are observing the rat bastard. And that's, by my counting, let's see, added up, carry the 1 square root, divide by pi times infinity. Oh, that's about 8,000 more people than have ever been observing him. So he is now subject to observation like he's never been subject to observation before. Think of that. The rat bastard has never been subject. Let me turn this down a little bit. The rat bastard has never been subject to observation before like he is now. One has to wonder what effect that will have upon the rat bastard. It demonstrably, according to the laws of science, must have some effect upon him. So the question is, what effect will our little safari have upon him? And safaris start out with observation and then many times end up locking and loading and firing upon that thing which is observed. But it's my hope that we can gather a confederation of gods and gods in training to go to the rat bastard and tell him, listen, you're doing a terrible job within this vineyard, within this world, and we are replacing you. You don't have to go home, but you just can't stay here. And the first part of our safari is observation. So we observe what he's doing. We take note of what he's doing. We review his record. It's only fair if we observe his record. How has he handled this earth? How has he handled this rulership and husbandship of this earth? How has he handled it? What type of a situation do we find ourselves in after 10,000 years of leadership of the rat bastard? After 10,000 years of murder, bloodshed, baby killing, woman killing, man killing, child killing, boy killing, girl killing, after 10,000 years of bloodshed, how many people have died, and what is the verdict on the way he's handled things? If he were a CEO and we were the board of directors, how would we vote? How would we vote based upon our observations? How would the other gods vote based upon observable information? Listen, folks, it's been a couple weeks since he stole their worship and stole their prayers. Remember, a year is 1,000 years with the gods. 1,000 years is with a day, is like a day. So it's been 10,000 years, been almost a couple weeks. I think they're probably getting tired of not having their worship. I think they're probably getting tired of not having their prayers. And we hate to sound like Donald Trump while wearing an Australian hat, but it may be time to say, you're fired. You're fired. But there's another thing to think about. Are you familiar with the idea of being at cause or being at effect? Are you familiar with that at all? Well, let me share with you something about being at cause or being at effect. And this is powerful for your life. So let's look at this. Being at cause is living life from the position of having personal power and authority. It's about taking control, being in control, making your own choices, causing things to happen, and taking full responsibility for the outcome, whether it be good or a learning experience. Central to living at cause is the belief that I can. You believe yourself to be the creator of what happens in your life, learning from any things that don't happen to go the way that you think they should have gone or thought that they would have gone, and then choosing your own end result and changing and modifying your approaches to make it come out the way that you perhaps thought that it should have, not the way that it actually did come out. We are the planet of the apes, aren't we? That's great. So many of you are not living at cause, but every one of you can choose at this very moment to begin living at cause. Now, living at effect means having things happen to you, being a victim of circumstance, always looking outside of yourself for someone or something external to blame or to help you or to save you. People who live at effect typically experience fear, powerlessness, and helplessness. Living with the at effect mindset is a mindset of I can't. And when you see yourself as being helpless, you automatically filter out the possible ways in which you could take control and could create something different, because you simply won't see that there are alternative opportunities once you've decided that there are no opportunities. Thus, the fact that you can't becomes true, further reinforcing the belief that you really can't. In other words, if you think you can, if you think you can't, you're right. If you think you can't, you're right. And if you think you can, you're also right. So I would challenge you to ask yourself, Am I living at cause? And go through your entire life. In my relationships, am I living at cause or am I living at effect? In my financial life, am I living at cause or am I living at effect? In my health, am I living at cause? Am I living at effect? In my spiritual life, am I living at cause? Am I living at effect? Am I living in the belief that I can, or am I believing in the belief that I can't? Am I living in the belief of I am the one that makes things happen and I accept the responsibility? Or are you living in the place that says I am a victim? Help me, save me, love me, give me meaning, help me, help me, help me, feel bad for me, I'm afraid, I'm powerless, I'm helpless. Which one are you? And which one are you when people are observing you? And which one are you when people are not observing you? Are you at cause even when you're not being observed? Now, what does this have to do with the rat bastard? Well, think about it. Thank you, I think. God is you. Think of this with the rat bastard. For 10,000 years, the rat bastard has been unquestionably at cause. He has been in charge. He has not had to answer with anyone. He has not had to answer to anyone. He has not had to deal with anyone, and he has not had to give account. For 10,000 years, it's been, oh, he's God, and he can do what he wants to do because he's God. Who are you to question God? Who are we to question God? So for 10,000 years, this being that we call God, he that shall not be named, has been called God and has been living in unquestioned cause. He causes the rain to fall. He causes the sun to shine. He causes the sun to come up. He causes the sun to go down. He causes everything. He causes the world to go round and round. He causes it all. It's him. He causes it. He causes the good. Of course, we cause the bad. He doesn't cause the bad because we can't ever blame God for anything bad. But for 10,000 years, he's been at cause. But now, he's being observed like never before. His motives are being observed and evaluated. His actions are being observed and evaluated by right now passive observers. But what happens when we become active observers? What happens when we become active observers? How much more will that change him? And at this point, he that shall not be named is forced to move from cause to effect. Well, Jeff, what do you mean? Well, up until now, he has been, without any doubt, vested with full and complete and total personal power. He has been vested with full and complete authority. He has had full and unquestioned control. He has made all the choices. He has been living at cause. He has been the creator of what happens on a universal and an individual level. But now, as more and more of us decide, you know what, we are going to take our personal power. We are going to take our authority. We are going to be divine. We are going to be sovereign. We are going to be free. We're going to take control. We're going to make our choices. We're going to cause the things to happen. And we're going to accept full responsibility for our own lives. We are going to live at cause. We are going to be our own creators. Yes, that's right. We're going to create ourselves and live the life we love. And as a result, he that shall not be named is getting a crash course on the other side of the equation. He is now at a place for the first time since he conned the Hebrews into becoming traitors to the rest of humanity at the Tower of Babel. Since that day, he is now for the first time experiencing what living at effect means. Having things happen to you instead of making things happen. Having people from outside looking at you and assigning blame and responsibility to you. And for the first time since he conned the Hebrews, his own people, his chosen people, since they turned traitor on the rest of us and allowed him to remain in control of the Tower of Babel, he is beginning to experience the first pangs of fear. Can you imagine what it must feel like to not have experienced fear for 10,000 years, and then all of a sudden it begins to creep up your spine? The hair on the back of your neck begins to go up, and you get that cold clenching in your gut. For the first time in 10,000 years, he's felt the pangs of powerlessness. For the first time in 10,000 years, he's felt the pangs of helplessness. For the first time in 10,000 years, he's actually said, what if I can't? For the first time in 10,000 years, he's probably seeing himself as he's seeing the potential of him possibly being helpless. And for the first time in 10,000 years, he's saying, can I? Instead of, I can. The seeds of doubt have no doubt been planted, because I'm not saying that he that shall not be named is a listener to this channel. But for what's going out into the ether, there's no way that he can't know it. Besides, isn't he God? Doesn't he know? Of course he does. And it's 11:11 on the East Coast. He's discovering what it's like to live at effect instead of cause. He's discovering what it's like to be observed and to have his behavior change in ways that he's never been changed. He hasn't been observed in 10,000 years. His behavior has not been changed. He's finding himself being changed. He is discovering that there's a whole new reality bursting upon him, one that he is no longer in complete control of. How is he accepting it? How is he feeling about it? I have a lucky machete. How is he feeling? How is he feeling? I've been drinking distilled water for about 6 months too, Sarah, and I feel great. How about that? How about that? Do you like apples? How about them apples, ladies and gentlemen? That's why I don't wear hats, because I don't like that weight on my head, on my head. What do you think the rat bastard's thinking? How do you think the rat bastard's feeling? I've been told that before with the Val Kilmer Ghost in the Darkness thing, believe it or not. Cash Mal Sai, how about that? Scary thoughts for us whom are just starting to ask the questions. Oh, I got another hat. Do we want another hat? How's this hat for a minute? How about that? What do you think about that? What do you think the rat bastard's thinking? What do you think the rat bastard's saying? What do you think the rat bastard? I suggest T. Crocker 66 that you do some research. Look at a list of Norse gods. Find out who they are. Find out what they're for. And decide which ones you want to call upon. Talk amongst yourselves for 1 second. Now, some of you might be asking, no, I didn't go get Brother Jeff. I was thinking about it. Some of you might be asking, T. Crocker, do your own homework, brother or sister. Dude, that's what Google's for. This room is not allowing me to say anything. Well, some people say, the title of this thing was, Are We Cross? And so you got to wonder, why are we cross? Why did I say that? Well, if you remember the movie Tombstone, there's a scene in there where Doc, my favorite character, is playing cards, and these guys are saying this guy named Ed Beatty is just, he's all sure that he's going to win the hand. And then Doc lays down 3 queens and says, now, isn't that a daisy? And of course he wins. And Ed Bailey jumps up and goes for his guns. And of course, Doc just sits back and says, well, Ed, are we cross? Taps on his guns. Long story short, Ed doesn't learn and Ed gets knifed. And I think that the rat bastard might be a lot like Ned right now. Why, rat bastard? Well, rat bastard, are we cross? Tapping on his gun. And then he says, if I didn't think that you were my friend, I just don't think I could bear it. Are we cross? People are talking about, oh, Jeff, how can you do it? The rat bastard holds all the cards. The rat bastard is the most powerful one. And like Doc said, well, I must be delusional, but I just have to call. I have to see his cards. I have to call. I just have to call. I may be deranged, but I have to call. That's just the way it is. We've got to decide who we're going to be. We've got to decide what we're going to do. And I believe it's time to make him show his hand once and for all. Make him show his hand. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen, about this whole scenario? What do you think the rat bastard thinks? What do you think about the rat bastard? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? I think it's high time that we start asking these questions. I think this hat's a little bit too small. That's what I get for trying to put on Brother Jeff's hats. So there we go. We are on a safari. We are observing. And we are giving him a chance to decide what he wants to do. He can abdicate peacefully, or he can just abdicate in another fashion. Is he cross? Give a shout out to Michigan. Hello, Michigan. Jerry Hargett and Michigan. But of course, you have to ask yourself a safari helmet. I don't think I'd want one of those. Will he begin to act in desperation? And desperate people do frightening things at times. So I was talking with someone today, and they were very honest and very straightforward and very smart. They said, hey, look, I don't think I'm ready for this. I don't think I'm in a spiritual place, so I'm going to sit this one out if that's okay with you. And I said, that's very wise. It's very smart. You have to take stock, and you have to make sure that this is for you, because this is real world spiritual interaction. It doesn't get any more real than this. So count the cost, decide what you want to do. And I hope that we can count on you. But if we can't, we can count on your support. And there you have it. Are we cross? Is God panicking under observation? I think he just might be. Deborah, we're already becoming gods, I believe. Thomas, you are the man. Oh, thank you for the palm reading. He says, right on. Yeah, I felt a good. I felt that was a good one. I appreciate you, Thomas. Grezenak, how do you say that, man? Grezizak. Thomas Grezizak. Val Kilmer was robbed. That was an Oscar-worthy performance if I've ever seen one. He should have, Greasy. There you go. He should have won the Oscar for that, man. That was probably one of the best performances I've ever seen. Although watching Val Kilmer do a one-man show as Mark Twain was pretty doggone good too. God, as you says, I was cross, Jeff, but because of you and us people in here, I'm now optimistic. Thank you. That's funny, Handy Andy. Great God, as you, I feel the same. Have no fear. There really is nothing to fear except fear itself. My only question is, can we reason with the psychopath? No, Renaissance woman, we certainly cannot, but we can. Even a psychopath can react with self-preservation And we offer him negotiation. We offer him diplomacy. And if he doesn't accept it, we move on with more stringent measures. That's how it goes. Marsden Brooks says he's like Leon Spinks. I ain't nothing to lose. Leon went in there and whooped the champ. I was watching that night. That's how old I am. I watched Leon Spinks whoop that champ. That was something to see. That was something to see. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's the situation in which we find ourselves. That's the situation in which he finds himself. We have situations that are colliding, and it should prove to be most interesting. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, your friendly neighborhood Christian whistleblower. I salute those of you that are here seeking truth. I salute those of you that are here not seeking truth. Thank you for those that are new. Thank you for those that act as moderators. I certainly appreciate it. I'm going to do my best to come back and do something else tonight as well. I hope that you're watching all of the programs. I think they're very, very high quality. And Rooney looks like he's pooped. We should be like Mike Tyson and bite his ear off. Absolutely. All right, folks. No, my sister's in Maine right now. No original sin. Spark of divinity within. That's why the Christ said, love yourself, love everybody, and told us that that's the way we know that we are on Team Christ. You got to decide. Has the world gone crazy, or have you? Tammy, I don't know that I've seen you or that name. Did you change your name? If you're new, welcome. If you're not, excuse me. There's 8,000 of you, and I don't have y'all memorized. Has the world gone crazy, or is it you? I'm here to help you figure out which one and what to do afterwards. So it's my hope that you'll unindoctrinate yourself. And above all, no matter how crazy it gets, stay fearless, my friends.